Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I have you now.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass. Hello!
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week, 30 years in the making. That's right. This is the 30-something movie podcast, and it kind of feels like a while since we've done this.
Yeah.
Kind of like got to get back into the groove of things here, and it feels like when we did the movie music one that has not yet come out yet.
I'm looking forward to doing that next week. I'm excited. I hope it turns out well.
That's going to be totally awesome. I kind of feel like it may be a recording that goes on for 2 weeks. And will take 5 or 6 weeks for me to edit.
Well, I hope you are a fast editor.
Or I'm a procrastinator and I have not started to edit it yet.
Well, real life. And
you can't edit what doesn't exist.
Well, that's true. We haven't done it yet. So, but a better question is...
When will then be now?
Exactly. You got it.
You are looking at now.
And the answer, as always, is soon.
Did we... Wait. We just missed it?
When?
Just now.
Go back to then.
In fact, no. You know what? Skip this part. Never show this part again. I actually use that sometimes when I'm having like a particularly bad day or week. I'm just like, you know what? Skip this day. Never show this day again.
And you know what makes that scene art is the way that Rick Moranis takes the drink from his coffee and weirdly looks around with his eyes. The way he flicks his eyes is absolutely puts it over the moon funny.
And we're going to talk a little bit about this as we get into it, but he ad-libbed and just kind of like off the cuff did a lot of his stuff in the movie. Just it wasn't necessarily scripted, which apparently is not how Mel Brooks likes to do things. Apparently he likes to kind of refine the lines and the jokes as they go along. And I guess from the SCTV stuff, John Candy and Rick Moranis just kind of said, yeah, you know what, we got some good stuff. We're just going to try it on the fly here.
Yeah, cool.
And I guess Mel Brooks wasn't a big fan of that, but he went with it.
It seems like over time, Mel Brooks' theories on that might have lightened up a little. I feel like in the commentary, he was very complimentary of both of those guys for that stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think at the time he wasn't a fan of it, but I think when he saw how it all came together, then. All right, so if you haven't figured out by now, we are doing Spaceballs, the movie. As opposed to, what else, the Spaceballs there would be.
Spaceballs? Is this Spaceballs the podcast?
Yes, this is Spaceballs the podcast.
Merchandising.
Yeah,
merchandising.
The search for more listeners.
I just have to say that Spaceballs the flamethrower is a really funny gag. I thought that was cool.
It's and what does it say on the flamethrower? Doesn't it say something like a toy for kids?
Yeah, the kids love this one.
Yeah. So this is Spaceballs, the podcast, the search for more listeners. And so very, very quickly, we spoil the events of the movies we talk about, and we are going to quote the heck out of this one. So if you have not seen this, first of all, if you haven't seen this movie, again, as we say a lot of times, I don't know where you've been. I don't know what you've done with your life. But you immediately need to go check out the VHS now. I'm excited to watch, maybe tonight, I will watch Spaceballs 2 because they've made the movie. I have the VHS tape before the movie has been made, so I'm going to go watch it tonight. But we do spoil the events of the movies we talk about, so if you have not seen Spaceballs yet, immediately go out and get a copy of it and watch it, and then come on back. And then after you've done that...
Speaking of people who haven't seen Spaceballs...
Yeah, go for it.
Those who have listened to the podcast enough happen to know that my wife, for whatever reason, had never seen Star Wars until she met me.
Yes.
The interesting twist to that is she had seen and loved Spaceballs.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Never watched Star Wars, never watched Star Trek, loved Spaceballs.
Okay. You know, I thought I read somewhere that when I was looking at some articles for this one, I thought I read somewhere that Bill Pullman had never seen Star Wars before making this movie. I think he was just like, yeah, I haven't seen the Star Wars things, but yeah, I got a good idea of what it's about.
Huh.
Oh, that's interesting. So she's seen Spaceballs.
Some lady
she
with
loves
buns
it,
in her hair. It's
right.
fine.
You know, I'm sure it'll all be funny when they put it in the theaters. Okay, well, that's interesting. I still have not shown the kids yet, so I'm trying to decide.
That's an interesting one. What age group is it for?
Well, I mean, see, I watched it when it came out, so, and what would I have been? I would have been 7.
Right, but this was with the uncle that showed you all the bad stuff, right?
No, actually, well, let's see. How did I see this one first? It couldn't have been my dad because this was a really weird one. He loved Mel Brooks movies. He hated this movie.
What?
Yeah, he'd either fall asleep or he'd leave the room if it was on. He knew I loved it, so he'd let me watch it, but he'd either fall asleep or leave the room. He could not stand this movie, which is weird to me because he loved Blazing Saddles. He loved Young Frankenstein. He loved all the other ones, but for some reason, he just did not like this one. I don't know why.
Well, it is a little different than them. It's definitely not. The formula of the movies he made before this was different than this movie.
How so?
He talked about it a little bit in the commentary, just that he attacked it differently because he had different goals. He was talking about at the beginning of the commentary I listened to about how the funding was different on this one. He just was doing things a little differently. Not in a bad way, and it wasn't like a huge departure. But John brought up some of the ad-libbing. That's not something he's used to doing. Just weird little things. And I feel like some of that comes through in some of the scenes in oh God, I am drawing a total blank right now. That's not really good. Some of the scenes on the Winnebago, like some of the more action-y scenes. All his other movies are so character-driven, and so is this movie, but there's just enough more action that I wonder if that's what your dad wasn't a fan of, because it wasn't in that typical Mel Brooks.
Yeah, do you think?
Yeah, see, I don't know.
Do you think that's what it could be, John? Is that it's like the old school Mel Brooks, and this is more of a new school Mel Brooks or something?
Yeah, I don't know because he never explained why he didn't like it. He just always said, "Oh, that movie? Okay, well you watch it, but I'm gonna go do something else." And he never explained it. And to me, I don't know that I think this movie is all that different from the other Mel Brooks movies. I mean, it still hits the same notes. It's still, I know you said he's kind of working with a different formula, but to me, it's still kind of the same type of gags. It's, and not in a negative way, but it's it's his style. And I don't know. That always kind of boggled my mind. And I wish I could ask him and ask him why he didn't care for this one, but for some weird reason, I don't know. Maybe it had something to do with this one was so far after all the other ones. This one was, what was it, like 6 or 7 years since he had made a movie, and then this one came out? Maybe almost 10 years? But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Any chance it was your dad didn't feel a special reverence to the source material, did he?
No, he likes Star Wars, but he could care less if somebody was making fun of it.
Okay, because I have definitely run into the oddball, what's the word I'm looking for?
Wrong people?
Yeah, that's a good one. Just the uber sci-fi fan who just can't take a joke.
Okay.
Who definitely would pan this movie.
Okay.
But as you said, I usually just put them in the category of why am I talking to you?
Oddball wrong people.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let me get some of our background info for the movie here, and then we will head on into our. Actually, we might even just do the trivia game first after I do this background info, so that we can get past all the little spoilery things. And I know there's a couple things you guys will know from the trivia part, so we'll do that early on. So we got a little 5-question trivia game that we're going to do here in just a minute. Very, very quickly before I get into all that other stuff, we're up to 865 followers on Twitter, which is really cool. So thank you, everybody, for following us there. And I'm going to issue a challenge. I'm going to say we can get to 1,000 by Halloween.
That'd be outstanding.
So everybody on Twitter, tell your friends and tell your father's, brother's, uncle's roommate that you should follow us on Twitter, and we put fun stuff up there. So I'm saying we can get to 1,000 by Halloween. So that's my challenge to everybody. All right. We've gotten this far, and I haven't even introduced you guys yet, which, anybody listening, they already know who you are. But so off in one corner over there, hiding in the Temple of Yogurt, is Bo Warmbold.
Yo.
Sitting as the co-pilot in the Winnebago, Jeff Mazuka.
That's going to leave a mark.
There you go. And Sergeant Major, I'm not going to say your last name here on the podcast because it is a family show, but Pat Canigallo, everybody.
Hey.
They changed their name when they came over to America, but all part of the same family as Philip.
He's a butthole, sir. First class, major butthole.
There you go. All right.
And I know we're not, I don't want to get too derailed, but I just want to say if this airs on if this airs on Wednesday, what would that be, the 13th?
13th, yeah.
If you hear this and you can get to it, go see Wrath of Khan in the theater. It is awesome on the big screen. I don't want to derail it. And Jeff, I know that, you're not as big of a Star Trek fan and weren't there, but I just want to put my shout out in. It was outstanding on the big screen.
Okay, so real quick, before we jump into the Spaceball stuff, let's do that, because I did want to talk about that for a second. So very, very quickly, because Bo, you went, and Pat, you went, and I went to the exact same show of Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. So give your, 30 to 60 seconds of your pitch on what it was like to see it in the theater.
Pat, you want to take this first?
Go ahead, man. You go ahead.
Okay. Obviously, I loved it. I mean, it was Wrath of Khan. I was going to love it to begin with. I think the remastering was really good. Some of the new effects they added were nice. It wasn't as blatant, slap you in the face as some of the Star Wars redos. But I think there was some cool little things in there. It was the second time I've seen it on the big screen. So it was really cool to see the remaster for me. I saw it as part of a run-up of movies leading up to First Contact's release. They showed all the movies at a movie theater in Mundelein way back when.
Nice.
So it was cool. It was cool. I wish there'd been more people there. It was not as full a theater as I was hoping for. That's one of those movies that when you watch it with a full theater, there's just so much reaction you can get out of people.
Yeah.
And we got some, don't get me wrong, but I think most of it was us reacting.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a smattering of applause.
Yeah, it was awesome, though. Just some of the great one-liners in that movie. The little interview with Shatner beforehand was even fun. He was so Shatner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, it was cool. It was a good thing. It was a good thing they did.
Which I will say about that interview in the beginning, I like that they did it. I almost kind of wish they would have done it at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because I was taking John for the first time, and they start talking about the death scene and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, John, close your ears. Don't listen. And he's like, I don't know. I'm not listening. I'm not really listening. Just close your ears. You don't want to listen to this part yet. So I kind of wish, because I mean, an event like that, that's the time that you might take somebody to go see it for the first time. And I kind of wish they wouldn't have done that at the very beginning of the movie. But other than that, that was my only thing that I didn't like about it, was that they put that in at the beginning. Otherwise, it was a lot of fun. That was the first time I'd ever seen it on the big screen. And this had been a favorite movie in our house ever since I was a little kid. I mean, I probably saw this when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. As soon as it was out on VHS, we had it and we were watching it at home.
Yeah.
So probably not the best movie to show a 4 or 5 year old, but yeah, who cares?
You're probably keeping your ears covered for the next couple of years. But.
Oh yeah, that was kind of always a running gag / threat in our house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were going to put the last surviving creature of SETI Alpha 5 in your ears.
Yep. And the one thing that we did that I definitely was happy that I did, because I hadn't seen it in a while, and then John had never seen it, was on Saturday, the day before we went to go see it, we watched the Space Seed episode from the original series. So it was good to kind of have that background. And it had been years since I'd seen it, so it was kind of a good reminder of, there were a couple of extra references here and there that I got, that I remembered a little bit better from having watched the TV episode.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. It was just, I mean, I've said it before, it's my favorite Star Trek thing ever, that movie. And just seeing it where it was meant to be on the big screen, that was just such a treat. And the thing that is, it's kind of like, you start, we're used to cell phones. So you start watching movies and videos on cell phones. And then, you kind of get an image in your head. Then you actually start watching them on a TV again, and it's like, wow, you can really pick up things. You can pick up facial features and little things that you didn't notice before, and effects and all this kind of stuff. That's pretty cool. And then you realize that that's kind of like the same thing of going to a movie that you've always seen on video, which I'd had, and then suddenly see it on the big screen, and suddenly, oh my gosh, Ricardo Montalban, he deserved an Oscar for greatest villain ever on a screen. Maybe there's someone I'm forgetting, but probably not. I mean, that guy was just menacing as Khan, and the looks in his eyes and how it just, you saw that insanity, that madness of just wanting to get Kirk. Wow, that was that was pretty cool. And John, like we've just talked in the past, this wasn't just a modern action movie where there's like things exploding all the time. I mean, it really, you'd have a lot of character development and building of the scene, and then bam, something would snap or something would go. And I just thought seeing it on the big screen with the surround sound, special effects, and everything like that. When they get when they dupe Khan, they get the code in to drop the shield so they can shoot at him and get him away and escape. Boy, that scene is just intense. I mean, I was back at the edge of my seat, and I've seen a movie 100 million times.
Oh yeah.
So it was a very, it was a treat. It was awesome.
The prefix code, that you mean the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, buddy.
Reliance prefix code, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
The same code I have on my luggage.
Really? Okay. It's the same I got on my luggage too. That's a coincidence. So if you are listening to this, I think this is going to come out Wednesday morning, September 13th, and I believe that September 13th, Wednesday night, is the last time they're going to be showing it for the 35th anniversary showings. So, and like Bo said, the theater was not packed. So I'm sure there are plenty of seats still left, but if you are a Star Trek fan, and if you are a Star Trek 2 fan in particular, definitely go check this out. If you've never seen it on the big screen, because I'm sure there's a generation of fans who have never seen this on the big screen, they've only watched it on VHS or DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, do yourself a favor and go see this on the big screen, because it is definitely worth it. All right, so that being said, let's go ahead and jump on into Spaceballs. This one was released on the 24th of June, 1987. It was rated PG, actually one of the very few PG movies at this point to still feature a slight mentioning of the F word. Happens a little bit later in the film towards the end, but it still...
Nothing works on this ship.
Right, yes. And actually, I think some of the movie packaging, they actually mislabeled it as PG-13 sometimes because of that. But it's actually a PG rating for this one. The runtime is 1 hour, 36 minutes. The director for this one was Mel Brooks. He was director, producer, and starred in it, and writer. He also did such movies, like we need to list these, but I'm going to anyway. The Producers, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, Robin Hood Men in Tights, History of the World Part 1. In terms of producing, he was also an uncredited producer on the movie with Jeff Goldblum, The Fly. Did not know that one till I looked it up. And then he also did, as a writer, he did some work on, I think he co-created the original Get Smart TV series, if I'm remembering that correctly. So director, producer, writer, actor in this one. Another one of the producers was Ezra Swerdlow. He also produced Alien 3, Zombieland, and the 2 Smurfs movies. Another of the writers was Thomas Meehan, who died actually just a few weeks ago. He was a writer for Annie, Hairspray, and The Producers. Ronnie Graham died in 1999. He was one of the writers, and he also played the minister in this movie. He was also a writer on MASH and the Brady Bunch Variety Hour. Cinematography was done by Nick McLean, who also did cinematography for Stayin' Alive, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever. And he was also the cinematographer for The Goonies and Short Circuit. Music for this one was done by John Morris, who also did Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, Clue, Haunted Honeymoon, and Dirty Dancing. You know what? I didn't even fill out the budget stuff for this one, so I don't have the numbers for the budget. I'll get them here in just a minute, but
it did all right.
It did fine. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks played President Scroob and Yogurt. He was in Blazing Saddles, The Muppet Movie, and one of my favorite TV shows that he was in was one of our favorite TV shows. He was Mad About You. He was Uncle Phil, so he would show up. He had, of course, changed his name. His original name was Deuteronomy, and people would pick on him, so he had to change his name to Phil because he had his fill. John Candy died in 1994. He was Barf. He was in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Home Alone, SCTV, and Uncle Buck. Rick Moranis was Dark Helmet. He was in Ghostbusters, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Little Shop of Horrors. Bill Pullman played Lone Starr. He was in While You Were Sleeping in Independence Day. Daphne Zuniga played Princess Vespa. She was in The Fly 2 and Melrose Place. Dick Van Patten died in 2015. He was King Roland. He was in Freaky Friday, Robin Hood Men in Tights. George Weiner was Colonel Sanders. What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken. There you go. He was the Devil's Advocate and American Pie 2. Michael Winslow was the radar technician. He was in the Police Academy movies and Sharknado 3. Joan Rivers died in 2014. She was the voice of Dot Matrix. She was a writer for The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. She was in Muppets Take Manhattan and Look Who's Talking. Laureen Yarnell Jansen, who died in 2010, was the actor who played Dot Matrix in The Suit, and she was a performer on the Sonny and Cher show. We mentioned before Ronnie Graham, one of the writers, played the minister. He was also in History of the World Part 1 and Robin Hood Men in Tights. Jim J. Bullock played Prince Valium. He was in a TV series called Too Close for Comfort and The Bold and the Beautiful. Rudy DeLuca played Vinny. He was in Transylvania 65000 and Robin Hood Men in Tights. Tim Russ played the trooper in The Desert. He was in Live Free or Die Hard and Star Trek Voyager. Dom DeLuise, who died in 2009, played Pizza the Hut, the voice of Pizza the Hut. And he was in Cannonball Run and American Tail and All Dogs Go to Heaven. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave this one a 57%, and the audience gave it an 83%.
That seems low.
It does seem low. So here's some of the critics on this one. Gene Siskel. I've got Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert and then one other critic, and they're kind of a mixed bag of reviews. Gene Siskel from the Chicago Tribune said, "It's a close call on recommending this movie, but Spaceballs does have some big laughs that are not to be missed." And he gave it 3 out of 4 stars. Roger Ebert, however, from the Chicago Sun-Times said, "How do you review a movie like this anyway? I guess by saying whether you laughed or not. I did laugh, but not enough to recommend the film. 2.5 stars. Richard Schickel, who was from Time Magazine, said, "The crew flings itself energetically through space in search of laughs, but it will never penetrate the galaxy where Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein traced their giddy orbits." So there. Yeah, critics not big fans of this movie.
I think that this movie ushered in a new generation to satire.
Yeah.
Whereas, Brooks's older films played to the generation prior. The sweeping epics and the westerns. And now, you're looking at a group whose lives were transformed by the likes of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. I don't know, maybe it's just a bit curmudgeon-y on Ebert's part to come down on it.
Well, and now that I've read Ebert's
it's not the Brooks that
right
Ebert grew up with.
And I wonder, because my dad always liked, and a lot of times he agreed with Roger Ebert's reviews, and sometimes he would base his opinion of a movie off of what Roger Ebert said, because he really liked him, and he liked reading his articles, reading his reviews. So I almost wonder, reading this again and seeing that Ebert just kind of said, nah, you know what? I laughed a couple times, but not enough to recommend it. I almost wonder if maybe that's part of where my dad not liking this movie came from. So that could be part of it. But yeah, Jeff, I think you're right. I think this is like on the fence of, newer Mel Brooks stuff versus the old, like you said, kind of sweeping epics type movies. And
you even mentioned that this was his first film after 10-year hiatus.
I think it was almost 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty wide gap in Hollywood. It's a film for a newer audience.
And I think if I can jump in, I think especially when you're dealing with comedy, I'm kind of reminded of a conversation that happened with Saturday Night Live when they were interviewing. Who was the guy that did? Was it Lorne Michaels?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were interviewing him. You remember a couple of years back when Saturday Night Live had the big 40th anniversary spectacular?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they interviewed him and they said, how are you able to do it? And he said, because different people cater to certain times of Saturday Night Live. And he said, I can't try to be funny for all time, for every age. He says, if you look, and I'm kind of paraphrasing and I'm not quoting him directly, but his thing was basically the stuff that we did in the 70s was going to be funny to that generation. When we got to the 80s, we had to do something different. It was a new generation. Now, the people from the 70s might sort of find it funny, but they're always going to laugh at their stuff more. And then when you get to the 90s, then we had to do another group of not quite ready for primetime players.
Right.
We had to get a new group with new kinds of humor. And the people that liked it in the 80s might find it kind of funny, but it's not meant for them. And then the people that thought it was funny in the 70s, they're not going to like it quite as much. And so you got this thing where he says, there'll be certain generations that just won't find it funny because it's not meant for them. And there's no way to please, you really have to shape it for the audience that you have. And I think comedy is such a challenging, difficult form. And then maybe that's just what it is that it's really, the Mel Brooks movies that were made earlier, that was made for an earlier audience. And now this one is made for us, the younger audience.
Because a lot of the reviews are this way. It's very, Jeff, I think you put it perfectly. It almost seems very curmudgeonly that they were going to say that they didn't laugh just in spite of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'll wrap it up. I was going to say, I think this is like the first comedy that I remember really getting when I was a kid. Like this was my first foray into comedies that, okay, I get the humor. I see why it's funny. I don't have to have someone explain it to me. I get it. And this one just fired on all cylinders for me.
This is probably the earliest example of satire or parody that I can remember seeing. And probably based on this movie and based on how much I liked this movie as a kid, it's probably why I enjoy parodying things so often myself. Like I love to make fun of stuff. I love to take something and twist it and turn it into something funny. And I think it's probably because of this movie and watching how they did that with something that was my absolute favorite. I mean, Star Wars, that was everything when I was about this age. And for them to take it and make it funny, then, I remember just absolutely loving it. And so I think that's probably, I'm definitely the demographic this movie was shooting for.
Sure. Well, we were kids when this came out.
Yeah.
And not to say that only kids would like it, but I think that, the curmudgeon thing that doesn't equate to a kid's mindset. So yeah, right. I think.
So Cinema Score gave this a B-, and that's Cinema Score. If you haven't heard us talk about that before, that's when they would survey people as they leave the theater. They'd ask them to give the movie a score, and I think they've been doing those since about 1977, 1978. And so Cinema Score gave this one a B-. So not a bad score, but it does kind of fit along with there was the 83% that the audience gives it on Rotten Tomatoes. The only award I could find for this one, unfortunately, is something called the Stinker Bad Movie Award. And apparently it won the Stinker Bad Movie Award for Worst Picture, which, again, don't agree with. Yeah, so
sad.
I know. Thank you, President. So here's a quick summary of this movie. When the mining moon Praxis explodes and planet Spaceball has only 50 years of life remaining, President Scrooge sends his evil minion Dark Helmet to steal all of the air from planet Druidia. The only person standing in his way is the space bum Lone Starr and his faithful companion Barf.
Not in here, pal. This is a Mercedes.
Once upon a time warp, deep in outer space, there lived the most sinister villain in the universe, Dark Helmet.
I can't breathe in this thing.
Spaceballs.
They must have hyperjets on that thing. And what do we got on this thing? A Cuisinart?
Starring Mel Brooks
It's for you.
as President Scrooge.
Who is it?
Daphne Zuniga as Princess Vespa.
Daughter of Roland, king of the Druids.
Funny, she doesn't look Jewish. John Candy as Barf.
Wow! Wow! Give me paw!
Bill Pullman as Lone Starr.
Ludicrous speed! Go!
Mel Brooks as the magnificent yogurt.
Don't make a fuss. I'm just plain yogurt.
Rick Moranis as Dark Helmet.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break?
Spaceballs, the movie.
Smoke if you got 'em.
And may the Schwartz be with you!
Okay, before I get to the background stuff, because some of the background stuff might have included our little trivia game here, we're going to play a little Spaceballs trivia.
I'm ready.
So let's see how much you know. We all love this movie, so let's see how much you really know about this movie.
I know it all.
How much were you paying attention?
I know everything.
You know everything?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ready? Here we go.
Wait.
Okay.
Am I allowed to play or no?
Yeah, you're allowed to play.
Okay, I thought you didn't want me to play.
No, you can play.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only...
Hey, if we can let John play Star Wars trivia, Jeff can play Spaceballs trivia.
Nobody plays Star Wars trivia. No one will play Star Wars Trivial Pursuit with me ever again.
Yeah, no kidding.
I can't. We have it here at my house. No one, every once in a while, John Ezra will play with me, but we have to put rules in place that I am...
You should bring it to Game Club.
Oh, I could do that. Well, then nobody would ever come back again. Because I would just tear all of them apart, and it would just be kind of sad, and it just... Yeah.
And the goal is not to be mean to the children.
Have you ever read the story? You ever read the story Harrison Bergeron?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where they have the handicapper general and they have to like weigh him down with weights and they put a mask on him so they don't see how handsome he is. And that's kind of like me when I play Star Wars Trivial Pursuit with the kids. Like there has to be a rule that, I have to have duct tape on 3/4 of my mouth and I can only answer one question at a time and I have to answer them in French or Pig Latin and, otherwise it's not a fair game.
All right, the next time they invoke those rules and they actually duct tape your mouth, I expect a picture.
Okay. The next time we play, I'm sure it's going to happen. All right,
That's hysterical.
But and then some other time,
And
Bo.
brilliant, by the way.
And Bo, we can talk about the time that you and I played Star Wars Trivial Pursuit one time.
No, we don't need to talk about that.
Don't want to talk about
embarrassing.
that? Okay. All
It
right.
was absolutely embarrassing.
It was a lot of fun. I had a good time.
For somebody.
Uh-huh. All right, so here is our 5-question Spaceballs trivia game. And we don't have buzzers, so we'll just, whoever answers, just scream, and whoever answers first, we'll do it that way. Okay, question 1. Maybe I should do this like when we go to trivia. 1. Which famous ship from Star Wars can be seen in Spaceballs?
I know.
Millennium Falcon.
Pat, did you just say blah, 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 blah?
I did. Well, I wasn't sure whether I was supposed. Is this a shout it out? Is this a raise your hand? I'm not sure how we do this.
Yeah, I can't see you raise your hand, so we're not going to go with the raising hand thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, just shout it out. Okay. So I think everybody answered correctly. So where can you see the Millennium Falcon in the movie?
It's at the spaceport.
Yeah.
There you go.
Said.
Yep, at the diner.
Yep.
All right. What is the name of Lone Star's Winnebago?
Eagle 5.
Yeah.
There we go. Nice job. It is the Eagle 5. And actually, Lone Star's Winnebago is up for auction. It's currently, I think, the last time I saw, and you know what? I don't know if that's from this year. It is up for auction.
That huge Hollywood auction?
I think so.
Oh my God! If I had the money.
Let's see. When was this?
All the stuff that they have for sale.
Oh, you know what? It was from June 9th of this year. And they have that at the time of this article, it was currently at $20,000.
Oy vey.
So it was that, and Dark Helmet's helmet was about $9,000.
Oh, how awesome would that be?
Mm-hmm. Well, so start thinking about it now, because one of my questions for us later is going to be, if you were going to be given something free, a prop from this movie for free, what one prop would you choose? So don't answer now, but think about it. Because I know exactly which one I would choose. Okay.
Does Mel Brooks count as a prop?
Sure.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Well, no, because then I don't want our podcast to be known for condoning slavery of Mel Brooks. So.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, you guys, he wouldn't be your slave. You just make him your roommate.
Yeah. I mean, I'd treat him well.
Okay. All right.
Anyway.
Okay. So this one might be a little tougher. When Yogurt is showing off the merchandising in the temple, what famous 80s cartoon character is featured on the front of Spaceballs, the coloring book?
Optimus Prime.
Yep, Transformers.
Oh, nice job. I think there's also a Transformers thing on the lunchbox, too.
Lunchbox.
Yep. Yeah. What is Princess Vespa's license plate?
Spoiled Rotten, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiled Rotten.
Spoiled Rotten 1. Yep. All right. What movie was previously filmed on the soundstage used for Yogurt's temple?
I know.
Ooh. I do not know that one.
All right, Jeff, go for it.
The Wizard of Oz.
Nice.
Which makes it even funnier that they have, like, the four of them are kind of walking in together, arm in arm, and there's the fire, and they keep wanting... The Tin Man, I'm sorry, Dot Matrix keeps wanting to chicken out, and then the Cowardly Mog wants to chicken out.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I did not know that until you told me that. So
You're welcome.
That's pretty awesome. All right, here's my last question, and I have not been keeping track, so you guys can just each decide who's the winner.
We're all winners.
Everybody's a winner. Everybody
gets a trophy.
Everybody gets a trophy. You all can go buy yourselves some ice cream. Okay.
Everything is awesome.
There we go. When you're part of a team. The trooper in the desert, who had yet to find anything, would later go on to star in another sci-fi franchise. What
Star
was
Trek.
his... What?
Tim Russ.
We going too fast. Let me finish the question.
Okay.
What was his character's rank?
Wow. That depends on what you're talking about, but he was a lieutenant most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah,
but you're talking to the wrong guy. If you
I know.
want to talk about ranks and timelines, he's an admiral in the game I play regularly, so, you know.
Okay, normal people. What would normal people think he was?
Probably a lieutenant.
Okay, I have listed as he is a lieutenant commander.
He started as a lieutenant for sure.
Okay.
He definitely got a promotion.
Okay.
But he started as a lieutenant for sure. On IMDb, he's listed as a lieutenant.
Okay.
Because when I realized who it was, I went back and looked up some stuff.
All right. Okay.
Because he's actually in
I'll give it to you.
another... He's in this weird Star Trek Renegades thing that's actually finally might get a release this year.
Oh, was that like the web series somebody was doing?
Yeah, and then they got sued and they had to change the name and all this stuff. They finally have a release year of 2017 listed, so it might actually happen.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations. Everybody won. Nice job.
Yay.
This is kind of like...
There's my trophy.
There you go. It's kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway, where the points are made up and doesn't really matter.
There you go.
Here it is.
There you go. You're number one.
You are number one, my friend.
Mm-hmm. And the rest of us are number two. Okay. All right.
Hey, I resemble that.
Well, you
What
might.
does number 2 work for?
All right. So a little bit of background on this one now that we've done our trivia game and we've spoiled the things we can spoil. A couple of different things. The scene in which Dark Helmet, I loved this when I read it. The scene where he's playing with his dolls was not in the script at all. Writer and director Mel Brooks came up with the idea on the set one day, and he told it to Rick Moranis, who then improvised the entire thing, including all the dialogue.
So here's my question. If he improvised the entire thing, did they have to come back and shoot it once they made the dolls, or did they already have the dolls?
Well, I think he came up with the idea, and he's like, I want you to be in your office, playing with the dolls, and what do you think your character should say? And I would imagine Rick Moranis probably just said, you know what, put me in there, give me the dolls, and we'll just go from there.
Okay, because I heard the same thing, and I was like, okay. But does Mel Brooks walk up and say, okay, so I'm making these dolls, and this is how this is going to go? Or does he just throw the dolls at Rick Moranis and say, there you go?
I would be fine either way.
Yeah, I just think it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting chicken or the egg on the set comment.
Mm-hmm. As we mentioned during our trivia game, the Millennium Falcon from the Star Wars saga does make a cameo appearance in this movie. If you look closely at the exterior shot of the space diner, you can see it parked there among the other space vehicles. Apparently, George Lucas got a chance to read the Spaceballs script before production began, and he loved it so much he had ILM help make the movie. So a lot of the different special effects, they are of a high quality because they're actually done by ILM.
But you know what his only caveat was?
Yeah, go ahead.
No merchandise is allowed for Spaceballs.
Which is why they made such a big deal out of the merchandising in the scene in the temple.
Correct. Well, and it became the running gag throughout the rest of the movie because you have the
Spaceballs, the toilet paper. Spaceballs,
the bed sheet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one.
Why do you think, unless maybe you know, why would he say no merchandising? I mean, would that somehow hurt his Star Wars sales? I guess
that was probably his logic behind it. Whether it really would have or not, I don't know.
Because it's George Lucas.
I can't make any sense of that.
George Lucas is all about the merchandising.
I was gonna say it's George Lucas. Are we really gonna try to make sense of him? Because
I know. It's a challenge.
You guys, I sat down and I wrote a Star Wars movie, but I decided let's just make some stuff instead. Let's not even do the movie. Let's just skip the movie. And
sounds like Bill Clinton with a cold.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that almost sounded like, yeah.
Did you guys hear that Lucas has expressed interest in directing Episode 9?
Okay. Okay. Now that you brought that up, let me go on a short, maybe 20-second tirade about that.
Go.
When I heard that they fired Colin Trevorrow, did you say it Trevorrow or Trevorrow?
Trevorrow.
I don't go. This is breaking into my time here. So Trevorrow. Okay. I know. So when they said that they were firing him, the first article I saw was, hey, who would be the best person for Episode 9? It might surprise you. And then like an idiot, I clicked on the article and I read all the way down to the bottom and they said, George Lucas, it's a perfect match. And then I got angry and I said, no, shut up. You should never be allowed to write anything ever again. George Lucas did wonderful things when he created this. But no, I don't think he wants to be anywhere near it. I think that it just needs to be left for other people to explore and leave it alone. No more. Okay, that's it.
All right, moving on.
But yeah, that's my opinion on that. But yes, I had heard that somebody. I don't think George Lucas expressed interest. I think other people were expressing interest on his behalf. At least that's what I read.
Well, I'm gonna have to look this up.
Okay. Either way, George, please don't do it.
Yeah, I don't know that we want him anywhere near it at this point.
Let other people play in the playground, and just you go off
and kick back and collect your money.
Collect your money. Go build your museums. Unfortunately, not in Chicago, but go build your museums.
Yeah, I'm still butthurt by that one.
Mm-hmm. All right. In a 2013 television interview shortly before receiving the AFI Lifetime Achievement Award, Mel Brooks stated that he personally obtained George Lucas's full permission to parody any and all things Star Wars related, but like you guys said, on one condition, absolutely no merchandise of any kind to be produced from the film. The castle, and so I wish I had realized this when we went there because I've been to this castle. The castle on Druidia is King Ludwig II's I'm going to mess it up. Neuschwanstein Castle in Bavaria.
God bless you.
Thank you. It was modified by matte painting with additional ramps, and the castle has been featured in many motion pictures and is the original inspiration for the castle at Disneyland. So, very cool castle. Much of the stuff, and they used to refer to him, so King Ludwig II, they referred to him as Mad Ludwig. And part of the reason was in this castle, he attempted to gold plate everything. And he bankrupted his kingdom because he ran out of money and he never finished gold plating it. So as you walk through this castle, there are rooms where everything in the room, the entire wall, everything is gold plated. And then as you get a little bit further into the castle, everything's just kind of just plain wood with no gold plating.
That's hysterical.
So it's kind of funny to watch where the money ran out. Mad Ludwig 2, The Search for More Money. The escape pod launch sequence is actually an unused clip from Star Wars Episode 4, provided to Mel Brooks by Lucasfilm. Spaceballs the book. I didn't realize this. Spaceballs the book. The novelization was written by R.L. Stein.
Mm-hmm. Oh, how about that?
I did not know that.
He gave. Are you about to say what I was about to say?
The names of the dinks?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I don't remember them. I just know he gave them names.
Oh man, that should have been another trivia question.
All right, so I'm going to get into this story now.
Yeah, go for it.
Voice actor Rob Paulsen, who has done countless voices, Pinky, Animaniacs, like just you look him up on IMDb and you're going to see
his name is Robert Paulsen.
Credits.
His name is Robert Paulsen. His name is Robert Paulsen. Sorry, it's from Fight Club.
He gets called in to do some ADR for this movie, and he's sitting around with, Phil Hartman was another guy that was called in to do some ADR.
Yeah,
and they're sitting around a table, and Mel Brooks comes in and he's talking to the guys. Like, okay, so we got this whole group. These little guys called dinks, and all the dink, 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 dink is all they say, and they got, the hood. And then we got one that brings water. We need to come up with a good name for him. So Rob Paulsen says, well, how about Gunga Dink?
I love it.
So as the story goes,
it's outstanding.
Mel Brooks turns to him and says, in this business, remember one thing. Wit is shit, funny is money. Who's got another idea? I hope that story is true because it's fantastic.
That's awesome. Gunga.
I think it's brilliant. Gunga,
is.
Like, Jesus, what a great play on it.
That's awesome.
Gunga Dink the water dink, like, of course.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect.
But, yeah, I don't know.
He was probably just sore he didn't come up with it himself.
Well, that's what he and Maurice LaMarche said. Like, he was probably just jealous that he didn't come up with that one himself.
Right. Apparently the other names based on the R.L. Stein novelization are Rinky Dink, Blinky Dink, Stinky Dink, Pinky Dink, Finky Dink, and Winky Dink. So basically it's all of the ghosts from Pac-Man. Let's see.
I'm glad they found work.
Yeah. Steve Martin was actually the original choice for Colonel Sanders.
That would have been hysterical.
That could have been interesting. Do you think he would have been too big of an actor for that part?
Yes.
No.
You don't think so?
I think he would have been too big of an actor, and he would have tried really hard to downplay his role.
But I think
I'm picturing him from other types of comedic roles like this.
I can't picture him playing a second to Rick Moranis.
Yeah, and not because of he feels he needs to be the star,
right?
But I think just the comedic energy he produces would be very difficult to wind down.
Yeah, so I
guess I can see that.
I think that was the right choice not to go with Steve Martin for that one. This is not the first Star Wars parody film that was ever made. Has anybody ever watched? I've heard of it, and I've seen like little short clips of it. Has anybody ever watched Hardware Wars?
The holiday
No.
stuff? No.
Okay, well, the holiday special. The holidays. See, the problem is, I feel like for something to be a parody, it's got to be funny. That one's not even funny. I don't even know what it is. It's like an hour of torture.
But you know what is funny? The fact that I showed it to my students and made them watch.
Oh, you are.
Oh, wow.
And you still have a job.
That was my gift to them.
They did make him teach literacy.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Maybe I'll do that in literacy this year.
You know what the Star Wars holiday special is?
Awful.
Well, it's what happens, when they're about to, in Empire Strikes Back, when he's lowering Han Solo into that kind of torture chamber that's sparking and hot, and then it goes off camera and you see Lando and Boba Fett sitting there, and Han starts screaming. It's because there was a little television screen in that device, and they started playing the holiday special. And that's what he's screaming about.
That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in.
And then he's just completely worn out when they drop him back in the cell. He's like, they never asked me any questions. They just made me watch the holiday special the entire time.
Yep.
That was the torture. You never saw it on camera, but that was the torture. Apparently Hardware Wars was the first Star Wars parody. I've never seen it. Have any of you guys ever seen that one?
I think I've seen clips of it.
Okay.
I had not heard of it until doing the minimal amount of research I did for tonight's discussion.
I remember there being a flying toaster.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen like screenshots of it, and I've seen like a few seconds, a little clip of it. It's only a 12-minute short movie. And I think he made it in 1978, so it was right after the original Star Wars came out. And very low budget, I think $8,000 he made it for. Yeah, wow. So here's a quick little description. Amateur filmmaker Ernie Fuselius was so enamored with Star Wars in 1977, he cobbled together a 12-minute short called Hardware Wars, which he shot for just $8,000 in an abandoned laundromat. The film embraced its piddling budget by featuring toasters, flashlights, and bits of tinfoil to substitute for space debris. Charmingly hokey, Hardware Wars became immensely profitable, earning roughly $500,000 in 1978, and was even declared a, quote, cute little film by George Lucas. Fuselius had offers to extend it to a feature length, but passed, and he would later seem slightly perturbed by Spaceballs, saying that it quoted his efforts. So, I have not seen it before, but I would be curious. It's only 12 minutes, so I'd be curious to go see it at some point, but... All right.
It's probably on the YouTubes.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's out there. All right, so let's just jump right into this here. I'm gonna be really mean, and I'm gonna limit it to like two or three favorite quotes from this movie.
Oh,
I know. I'm gonna just jump in with I think what is one of the best lines in the entire movie, and we have quoted it many, many times before, when they are combing the desert.
Yes. We ain't found
mm-hmm. Yeah, I just love when they comb the desert. Do you hear me? Comb the desert. Do you think we're taking this too literally, sir?
President Scroob!
What is it?
I have an urgent message from Lord Helmet. He's lost the princess.
Where?
Somewhere in the sands of Vega.
Tell him to comb the desert, do you hear me? Comb the desert!
Yes, sir.
Sir?
What?
Are we being too literal?
No, you fool. We're following orders. We were told to comb the desert, so we're combing it. Found anything yet? Nothing yet, sir. How about you? Not a thing, sir. What about you guys? We ain't found.
It just and as a kid, I would have had no idea what comb the desert means. And so I'm watching them comb the desert, and I'm like, oh, well, they're combing the desert. That's weird. And then finally, later as an adult, I was like, comb the desert. That's what it is.
Well, and that joke is so dense because then they pan to the pick.
Right.
And like, there's so many layers there, and it just gets better and that's the thing. It's a layered joke, and it just gets better.
It wasn't until I was older that I picked up on the black Spaceballs using the pick as opposed to the white Spaceballs using combs.
Yep.
Right.
And Although what I remember picking up on when I was a kid watching that scene is before it even cuts to them with the cone, Dark Helmet has the megaphone.
Yes.
And he's using it like right at Colonel Sanders' ear, and then he puts it down and shouts at the guys out in the desert.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's got a desert pith helmet. I mean,
Right.
it's so good. It's the jokes like that just layer on top of each other that are just awesome.
Mm-hmm. So that's probably, if I had to pick one, that would definitely be my first one, would be that scene.
I got to go with the instant video. When will then be now?
Mm-hmm.
Soon. Just that whole shtick is great.
They're out in stores before the movie is finished.
Nah. Here it is, sir. Spaceballs.
Good work, Corporal. Punch it up. That's much too early. Prepare to fast forward.
Preparing to fast forward.
Fast forward.
Fast forwarding, sir.
No, go past this. Past this part. In fact, never play this again.
Try here. Stop.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
Now. You're looking at now, sir. Everything that happens now is happening now.
What happened to then?
We passed that.
When?
Just now. We're at now.
Go back to then.
When?
Now.
Now?
Now.
I can't.
Why?
We missed it.
When?
Just now.
When will then be now?
Soon.
Missed that whole thing, and then when don't ever show this again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of my absolute favorite lines is Darth Helmet's when he says, "You must remember one thing. Evil will always triumph because good is dumb."
Yeah, that's a solid one.
There's something so simplistic about that line, and I was trying to use that as an insult. And it's so ridiculous, but it works so well.
So, Lone Starr, now you see that evil will always triumph because good is dumb.
I think my other favorite has got to be when he's in the room playing with his dolls.
So, Princess Vespa, at last I have you in my clutches to have my way with you the way I want to.
No, please, leave me alone.
No, you are mine.
Not so fast, Helmet.
Lone Starr.
Yes, it's me. I'm here to save my girlfriend. Hi, honey.
Now you are going to die.
Psst. Oh. Hey, what'd you do to my friend?
The same thing I'm going to do to you, big boy. Oh, and you too.
Oh.
Now, Princess Vespa, at last we are alone.
Oh, no, I hate you. Leave me alone. Yet, I find you strangely attractive.
Of course you do. Druish princesses are often attracted to money and power, and I have both, and you know it.
Oh, leave me alone.
No, kiss me.
No, yes, no.
No.
Yes, no, yes. Oh, your helmet is so big.
Lord Helmet, what? You need it on the bridge, sir.
Knock on my door. Knock next time.
Yes, sir.
Did you see anything?
No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
Good.
The John Hurt scene with the alien coming out of his stomach. And
yes.
Oh, no. Not again.
Not again.
You know what I love about that one? When I first saw this movie, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Now you get it.
Oh, yeah.
Really good.
And the fact that it's exactly the same actor.
Oh, I know. Like, it is just so good. So good.
So, we were lost. None of us knew where we were. And then Harry began feeling around on all the trees. And he said, I got it. We on Pluto. And we said, Harry, how can you tell? He said, from the bark, you dummies. From the bark.
Is he all right?
Yeah, the guy digs me. Hey, what's wrong with this guy? I don't know. Bring him some water! Water my ass! Bring this guy some Pepto-Bismol! Waitress! What did he order?
Oh,
Shoot! Good move.
Oh, no. Not again.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss by wire. Baby, my heart's on fire. If you refuse me, honey, you lose me. Then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone and tell me I'm your own.
Check, please.
So I think another one of my favorite lines when Barf goes to get out of the seat.
Yes.
And he's still got the seatbelt on. And he goes to get up and he's just like, ooh, that'll leave a mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess was an improvised line as well.
Yeah, I had read that somewhere, that was not in the script.
But I don't know, I always like that. And I say that all the time. If I walk into something or, bang my leg on a table as I'm walking past or something, oh, that's going to leave a mark.
I do like the one scene that I know that John is going to enjoy when we do eventually watch this movie, because we've watched a couple of Star Trek things now, and I've introduced him to the Vulcan nerve pinch. And sometimes I'll do that on him if he's misbehaving. And so we get to the one scene. He's like, "What are you doing?" When he sneaks up on the guard. "What are you doing? The Vulcan neck pinch?" No, stupid. You got it much too high. It's down here where the shoulder meets the neck. Like this? Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. I'd forgotten about that one.
Mm-hmm.
One of my really good friends, Dave, loves this movie. And so I was telling him that we were podcasting it. And one of his favorite lines is outside of the good as dumb, is if there's one thing I despise, it is a fair fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I must, I must.
Like, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. And then you're like, oh, wait, what'd he say? He despises a fair fight? That's that whole back and forth there when Lone Starr and Dark Helmet square off. It's so great.
All right. Let me ask you this one then. Going back to the idea that they put up the Dark Helmet's helmet and the Eagle 5 Winnebago up for auction. If you could have one item from this movie, and I will say that my lovely wife did text me a little bit earlier when we were talking about this before, and her text is, "We don't have room for a Winnebago. Really, we don't." So I'm not allowed to choose the Winnebago, which actually wouldn't have been my choice anyway. I would have gone for Dark Helmet's helmet. So if you could have one prop, if they were going to give you one prop from this movie for free, what prop would you take?
Oh, this is so hard.
I think Pat, since Pat might have fallen asleep on us, I will take Pat's, and I will say that Pat chooses the Spaceballs, the flamethrower.
Nice.
Yeah, that makes sense for Pat.
Yeah.
It's a toss-up for me between a can of air and the can of liquid Schwartz.
Okay.
My wife will take the hairdryer.
That's a good one.
The helmet for sure would probably be the top of my list.
Mm-hmm.
But since you've already claimed that one, maybe the hair bun headphones.
Ooh,
That
solid.
That would be good.
Good call.
If I wanted to take something that I had room for, in the midst of all my other stuff, I would take Lone Starr's necklace with the little symbols on it.
Ooh, better.
I would do that.
That'd be a very subtle piece.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Be awesome for a collection.
And I would wear it all the time and then tell people I'm a prince. What are you laughing at?
An honest to God prince.
Yeah. And then I would somehow have this miraculous change of clothes, some outfit that I never would have kept in the Eagle 5 to begin with, but somehow I'd magically have this brand new set of princely clothes.
It came with the liquid Schwartz.
Okay, that makes sense. The power of the Schwartz is all encompassing.
The power of the Schwartz compels you.
Mm-hmm. That's a different movie.
Never underestimate the power of the Schwartz.
So here's my last question as we're wrapping up. They have been talking for many, many years, but apparently now it's even more of a discussion and possibly more of a reality. Spaceballs 2. So they have been talking with the success of the recent Star Wars movies that they are talking about, and Mel Brooks would like to bring back Spaceballs 2. And I know, Jeff, when you and Pat went to go see him, that I think somebody asked him a question about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's my question for you all. If they do Spaceballs 2, which Star Wars movie would you want them to parody? Or let's do this. Which sci-fi movies would you want them to parody? Because I don't know that it has to be just Star Wars, but if you could pick one that they would kind of focus on primarily. The rumors that I've heard is that they may focus on Force Awakens and kind of the new characters and all that. But
I'm kind of the mindset that I don't think we need a sequel to it.
Okay.
The first one, Spaceballs, it's everything space adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit on all the big elements of Star Wars and Star Trek and Alien and countless other things. I don't see a need to do a second one.
So let me follow that up with this question then, because my understanding is when he got to the point where he wanted to make another movie, but he had to think about what genre he hadn't parodied yet, he said, all right, space, sci-fi. So we'll do a parody of Star Wars. We'll do Spaceballs. Is there another genre? I'm thinking off the top of my head, maybe superhero movies. Is there another genre that he hasn't done yet that you'd like to see him do?
Good question.
Because I kind of agree with you. I kind of agree. I'm fine with Spaceballs being the only Spaceballs. I don't know that I need a sequel.
Well, when you think of...
I'd go see it, but I don't know that I need it.
When you think of sequelized parodies, can you think of a parody sequel that is really done well, that didn't have more just eye-rolling than laughs? Because look at
off the top of my head, no.
You have the Naked Gun trilogy,
right?
And those progressively got worse as they went on. You have the Airplane series, and that after the first Airplane movie, those just sort of got worse as they went on. I think with a good parody, you lampoon really hard.
Yeah.
And you go for the stuff that is going to be the laughs and the stuff that's going to work as a parody, like Mel Brooks beaming himself, only then just to walk through the door into the next room.
Right.
Stuff like that. Whereas once you start getting into a sequel, now you have to start digging into layers a little bit as to what you're going to try to parody, so you're not just redoing what you did the first movie. And now you're looking at things that fewer people are going to understand. If Mel Brooks was going to do a sequel to something, maybe it would be another History of the World.
Okay.
That actually would be good.
Now, of course, the joke is that it's called Part 1, and there's no intent to ever do a Part 2. But I think if any of his movies lent themselves to being sequelized, I think it would be that one, because Lord knows our world is in such a place that there's always going to be things to mock and always going to be things to find humor in.
Right. If they did a Spaceballs
right.
2, or
I would love to see a parody, but I'm not sure if it can be done well, and I'm not sure how it's going to land. It's a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
And sequels are hard to begin with. Parodies are hard to begin with. A parody sequel could just be brutal.
Yeah, I've tried to think of any good ones, and I can't think of.
Work.
Oh, it could work. I mean, I think it's It's going to be a lot of work. And the scuttlebutt is always that Daphne Zuniga and Bill Pullman are in. Okay, great, but everybody's old now. Like, is he gonna try to, Spaceballs the next generation this thing, or,
so,
you know what I mean?
Let me put this out there. The sense that I get hearing him talk about doing a sequel to Spaceballs, the biggest sense that I get out of all those conversations is he says he's thinking about doing it. I think more just to placate fans than to actually really consider doing a sequel.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to disappoint people by saying, no, it's not going to happen. But at the same time, he's not going to commit to it. So I think it's more just he's humoring the masses by saying that, he's thinking about it and working on some ideas. But I don't think he has any intent to do a sequel. And I hope to God that somebody isn't going to take that as a green light to step in and take over the idea.
Yeah.
I could only hope that he's too smart to let that happen.
I have no idea what the rights are like to his properties. He's not going to live too much longer, I don't think. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when he does pass away. What happens to all of his properties?
You know what? Totally backtracking to your parody sequel question. I think I just thought of one.
Oh,
Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only that one, and if we want to count Evil Dead 2 as a parody sequel,
Okay.
I would throw that one in there too.
I think Evil Dead 2 is a stretch to call it a parody sequel.
But yeah, I think Austin Powers, that's one of the only ones I can think of that is a parody.
I will definitely give you that. And I think the reason that works is because there's so much of the original source.
Yeah.
There's so much in the James Bond pantheon that you can definitely do more than one movie.
All right, so kind of leading into, here's my very last question here, and we don't have to take too long on this, but what is if you had to pick just one, what is your favorite Mel Brooks movie? And we might have done this before on one of the other podcasts, but we'll do it again. Favorite Mel Brooks movie?
Spaceballs.
Okay.
Man, I don't know. Why do you do this to me?
Because I'm evil. I got the bad side of the shorts.
You're evil because good is dumb.
Yeah, you got the upside, I got the downside. There's two sides to every Schwartz.
Which is also a great moment in the movie when it becomes a very casual conversation.
Yeah.
You got the upside, I got the downside. You see, there's two sides to every Schwartz. Yeah. Maybe Young Frankenstein, but this is so great.
I know.
Men in Tights is fantastic. Blazing Saddles is amazing.
I have a hard time picking between this one and Young Frankenstein. Just because I love those. I mean, it's the two of my probably favorite genres is the classic Universal monster movies and Star Wars. So trying to pick between the two, because everything in Young Frankenstein is just amazing. And it's Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't think I can pick. I don't think I can pick between. So I'm going to cheat in my own question and say both.
Because you've never done that before.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, that's a brand new thing for me. So yeah, I'm going to say Spaceballs and Young Frankenstein.
I would probably say the same thing.
Yeah. Now, if you really pressed me and forced me to pick one, Spaceballs.
You sound so sure of yourself.
I'm going to say it with a question mark. Spaceballs?
Have you heard the story of how they decided on titling it that?
There was a British one. He wanted to call it like Planet Moron or something like that. Yeah.
And they decided it should have space in the title. And while they're having this conversation, Mel Brooks spilled something on himself and jumped up and just yelled, "Balls!" And then they were just like, "Spaceballs." That's perfect. That's it. That's
Perfect.
the title.
Done. So real quick,
I think if I had to pick one, I think it would be Spaceballs.
Who's that?
Yeah, I know. We're back. You turned off the movie. I think if I had to pick one,
Where the hell have you been?
Where the hell have I been? Oh, man. Dude, school started and it's past my bedtime. What do you think?
We were shouting your name for a while.
Oh, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. But in answer to the question, I think if I had to pick one, I think I would pick, with all the movies being great, I think I'd have to give the nod to Spaceballs, only because I think this is the one this is like the first one I saw as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Young Frankenstein came pretty soon after and all that, but this is the first one that I remember really seeing as a kid and not having to say, "Hey, can you explain that to me?" Or, "Hey, why is that funny?" Or, I didn't get it all, but I think that was the situation with Spaceballs, was just that it was, you kind of remember the stuff you remember as a kid, and that was the first one I could really latch onto.
Yeah, I think for me too. I think that's why this one edges out Young Frankenstein, because it was the first. It was probably the first parody movie I'd ever seen. It was definitely the first Mel Brooks movie I'd ever seen, at least that I can remember, and it was Star Wars. It was making fun of Star Wars. So that's. Because it's the first one I saw, so I wouldn't have seen Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles till later. So I think I'm probably in the same boat with you.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Because I remember watching this movie and being able to understand some of the jokes because I was familiar enough with Star Wars and new basic elements of Star Trek that I could laugh at a lot of this movie. Whereas I think this movie led me to discover more of Mel Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, just try to learn more about satire. Because I would watch the Airplane movies and they were funny. Well, the first one's hilarious. But without having seen Airport, you don't really get the point of the movie.
Right.
So Pat, I'm with you on this, that definitely this is the first satirical movie I can remember seeing where I didn't have to ask for clarification for a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna go back for just a second to what we said about Spaceballs 2, and I've got one reason why I would not want to see a Spaceballs 2. No John Candy.
Yeah.
You're not going to have, because yes, he's not the main character, but without his little asides and all the little things that he does here and there, I don't think you have a movie. So if there's no John Candy, I don't think you should do a Spaceballs 2.
Humans, droids, if I may. Yeah, it's that sort of stuff that the movie would definitely be lacking.
It's funny, she doesn't look Druish.
Oh my God, so brilliant! Great. It's all a Druish princess.
Which, by the way, he says that line 5 seconds after talking to her father, the King of Druidia.
Right.
Which made it even funnier.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do we have any last things we want to say about Spaceballs, other than if you haven't seen it, everybody needs to go out and see it right now?
Oh, yeah.
I think we spoke a lot about it. It was hard to get, to keep Pat quiet about this movie.
Well,
yeah. Run me out of energy, and then that'll quiet me down pretty good. But the only other thing I'd say about this, and I'm sure it came out earlier when I was, blissfully, slumbering. But I'll tell you, it's just a complete movie. It's not, sometimes with some comedies and stuff, it's like you're going from one sketch to the other, but there's not like a whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is, again, with all of Mel Brooks' movies, I can't answer the question I've been thinking, I cannot answer the question favorite quote or favorite scene or favorite anything, because it all flows together, and it's a complete movie. And I think that's what really makes this excellent is it's not just a series of gags or a series of funny situations, but it's just a whole movie of awesome, a whole movie of very, very funny material.
All right. So the only thing I got left is I need to decide whether or not the kids are old enough to see this yet.
I would say hold off.
Yeah.
Well, definitely for Nora.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I know, because I saw this probably at around age 7 or 8. So John's definitely fine. But I think a few more years for Nora. That's all right. Next Tuesday, she finally gets to see Wonder Woman. So when that comes out on Blu-ray, she's been waiting to see that, because we didn't go see it in the theater because we kind of thought she was still maybe just a little bit too young. So until Spaceballs 2 comes out and we do the podcast for that in like 30 years, and again, I don't know. I think I'm good without a Spaceballs 2. But either way, if one comes out, I'm sure I'll go watch it. But yeah, so that's going to do it for Spaceballs 2. So coming up next week, this will be our probably multi-part extravaganza. Coming up next week will be our 150th, our Sasquatch Centennial episode. I think I said that right, didn't I?
Yep.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yep. Putting the big foot right in my mouth. So that's going to be our 150th episode, in which we kind of go all throughout. We had all these different categories that we tortured ourselves with in terms of movie music, and we spent a good long, what do you think, like 4.5 hours total?
It was probably close to 4.5.
It's probably about 4.5 hours.
Wow.
So, yeah, so we spent a little while going through some of that stuff, and so we're not gonna make the listeners listen to that all in one sitting. So we're gonna break that up into at least a couple of different episodes.
We're going to probably talk for about 4.5 hours in the future about music.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's going to take 4.5 hours when we get there.
I'm thinking we're probably going to have to split it up over 2 days.
That I'm predicting. I'll predict that it's going to take 4.5 hours, and I'm going to predict that everything that we say will be the most amazing things anyone has ever heard about movie music. Okay, well, that's going to be next time. So if we make it through the recording of that we have not yet done, that we will be doing at some point in the future, whenever then is now, then that'll be our next episode. Will be our 150th Sasquatch Centennial episode. And before then, if you have anything that you want to share with us, we've got several different ways that you can get in touch with us. We are our website, where you can find all the different ways to reach out to us, and that would be either email, voicemail, Twitter, all those different places, is 30podcast.com. That's our official website. We are on Twitter, like I said, at 30podcast. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/30podcast. You can also find us on Stitcher and Satchel and the Google Play Podcasts and iTunes, and you can just listen to us directly from 30podcast.com. And so if you've got anything you want to say about movie music, that one is coming up next week, so you've still got some time to get your feedback in there. If you want to give us a call, you can leave a voicemail for us, what we've affectionately referred to as the Love Line. Feel free to call the Love Line and let us know about all of your cinematic musical queries. But that'll be next week. That'll be our big 150th. So, and then coming up after that, we have got some great movies coming up in the month of September. I can't even believe it's September. I was looking again at the calendar and realizing that I kind of got to get in gear when it comes to looking at the 2018 movies. So we've got September is our sci-fi month. So obviously this one is the first of our sci-fi month episodes. Coming up in September, we've got Batteries Not Included.
Yes.
Which I believe is on Netflix now, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think it is. I think I just looked, and I think it's on Netflix. So if you want to take a look at that one before we do that one in a couple of weeks, Batteries Not Included. And then Inner Space. I love that movie. That is an awesome movie. And then coming up later is Predator. Which I know, I absolutely know, and you can tell I'm being sarcastic. My wife is going to be absolutely excited about watching that with me, because that is one of her favorite movies. Not at all. And then finally, to end the month out, I don't know if this should fall into the comedy or sci-fi section, but we'll be doing Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. And
I'm busy that night.
You're busy that night? Okay.
I don't know. That's not the one with the robot, is it? Richard Pryor and the robot and all that?
No, that's Superman 3. Yeah, and that's an awesome one too. But no, this one I was kind of going back and forth because the my wife just texted me. They won't believe you that I like Predator. So the Superman 4.
At least she's listening.
She is. Well, because old house, you can hear everything through the vents.
Fair enough.
You know, it's our communication system. We can't afford an intercom, so we just yell through the vents.
There you go.
Yeah, Superman 4. I also was going to try to find the Bollywood Superman, which also came out in 1987. And I was kind of going back and forth.
Trippy.
I know. I was kind of going back and forth on, do I try to do the two of those together, or is the Bollywood one better than Superman 4? And I'm not sure. It might have a higher production value.
That is true.
So, I don't know. But that'll be at the end of the month. So Jeff, you're skipping out on that one?
I don't know if I can bring myself to watch that again.
You know what? As much as I love the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, I think that one came on Netflix a couple years ago. And I think while I was grading some essays late at night, I decided, hey, you know what? I'll just put this on while I'm grading. And I think I switched it off a little ways into it because it was so bad that it was distracting me from getting my work done.
Wow. You started, like, every kid started getting an F or something like that on their essay?
Yeah, I think I just started getting angry.
Say at that point, they probably all started getting A's.
Well, yeah. So, okay. Well, I mean, that'll be an interesting one. We can talk about all of the amazing things that were done with that Superman movie, which then is we can throw that into our category of some of the other ones we've done with the canon films and what those guys did, good or bad or horrible, with very low budgets, because that is a canon film. That's when they got the rights to that and decided to make Superman 4. So yeah, so that'll be the end of the month. So if you want to get ahead on some of those, Batteries Not Included, like I said, I believe is on Netflix right now. Inner Space, I don't know if it's on Netflix. I'm sure it's probably out there somewhere, easy to find. Predator, usually very easy to find too, wherever you're looking for it. And then Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, will finish out our month of September. But in the meantime, be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies. Go watch Spaceballs if you haven't seen Spaceballs, and then you can get on over to those other sci-fi movies we're going to be doing. But,
or if you have seen Spaceballs, go watch it again.
Watch it again.
Yeah.
Or any of the other movies. Young Frankenstein, History of the World Part 1, Blazing Saddles, Men in Tights, any of those. Go watch any of them.
Tights.
Mm-hmm. Tights. Worked in Blazing Saddles. All right. So that's going to do it for us tonight, and we will see you all later.
Bye.
Bye.
Dear me, what are those things coming out of her nose?
Hey, watch my helmet. Spaceballs?
Oh, there goes the planet.